Robert.
Yo, what's shaking AC?
Oh, not much. I was talking the other day about how my company became AC Inc.
Yeah.
And I never was like, oh, this company needs to be called my name. I just didn't know where I was going to land. So I was like, well, until I figure that out, I'll change the name later. So it was like Angela Cote Inc., right? But then you started calling me AC, and then people at the round table started calling me AC, and then they started calling the company AC. And now it's like it seems like it's just gonna be that.
In the words of the Moana movie, what can I say except you're welcome? Do you know that?
You have a young, pardon?
You know that part or that movie?
No, I don't, but it's funny. That
Oh,
sounds
okay.
funny. But I was gonna say, you have young niece and nephew when you're watching Moana. Although I don't think that would stop you
No.
or be actually the reason that you watch. You probably just would anyway.
Yeah, the second one is coming out in theaters this month. Woo!
Oh, okay.
Listen,
Fun.
what do you want to rant about? Because I have so, like, in the spirit of ranting, I have so many rants. But we may go off on a tangent if we let me rant here, because yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. I know this is therapy for you, right? Getting to rant, get it
yeah,
out. Get it.
yeah.
Well, I would love to talk about something because the roundtable topic this week. I've been working on making the roundtable topic the same for every roundtable just to streamline it more. I didn't think I could. It makes it a little hard to facilitate when you do all four. Like I facilitate four roundtables in 3 days, and sometimes by like the third one, I'm like, wait, did I say that at this roundtable or the next one? So it gets a little confusing, but I'm up for the challenge just because it makes the decision on like what's the topic going to be makes that a lot smoother. Anyway, so we were talking about franchisor versus franchisor decision making, and I was really stemmed from I was thinking about how you want to, as much as possible, you want to when you can. I shouldn't say as much as possible. When you can, you want to allow franchisees to have the leeway to make a decision because they don't want to be just robots. Like yes, they want support and they want a system, but when they get in there, they realize they want some creative freedom, right? So, what are the areas that you can give them that versus what are some areas, like my question for the group, one of them was, what are the like non negotiable things that you have learned we needed? Like maybe we used to let them go just go buy a black shirt for the uniform and put the logo on it. And we realized it was just getting out of control. So we've now mandated that they have to use this uniform supplier, for example, and then they control it more. There's a lot of push pull with this, and what I tend to see, I mean, it's kind of $1 million question on some of these things because what I tend to see is that people are missing out on the leveraging of the volume buying power in a franchise. But on the flip side, sometimes franchisees have a good point. If, you're sometimes, like one example was a moving company where they mandate where the boxes come from for the company. It's probably because they're also logoed or whatever. But they have they're Canadian franchise, and they have a franchise. Well, it's a Canadian master, I think, but they have most of their franchisees are in Ontario in concentric area, but they've got a couple franchisees, I think, in British Columbia, and those franchisees have to spend like 3 times the amount to ship those boxes out. So do you force to try to get the leverage the buying power, volume buying power to and make them use that supplier, or do you find a supplier in that market, or do you let them just in that case go get their own boxes, which now you don't get that volume buying power, and now you don't necessarily get to control it, maybe. So that was the conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, I think this whole thing is predicated on how the relationship starts, you know? In an ideal world, a franchisor and a franchisee are business partners. Business partners need to be on the same wavelength, which is very difficult to determine during the vetting process. You know, people can lie on a resume, they can lie on an interview, all that sort of stuff, right? So that's one hurdle you have to get over. But let's say you get over that hurdle and everything is perfect. You should be like business partners, like co-CEOs. and therefore you should be on the same wavelength. So there should be no franchisor mandating that this needs to be done because the franchisee will already be doing it, you know? If the franchisor needs to say, hey, you took a regular black t-shirt and you put a logo on the front, you should know that the logo is on the left side or on the right side, like you're already not on the same wavelength over simple stuff like branding, right? So when it comes to operational economies of scale and operational economies of scope, that becomes even more difficult, right? Just like when you have two people that want to partner together to become a franchisee, they should have a partnership agreement to let each other know who's responsible for what, right? So a franchisor needs to be responsible for things like the brand, and the franchisee needs to be responsible for things like the operations, for example, right? So when it comes to situations where you have franchisees across a country and you've got these levers that you can pull in order to make things better, there's two onuses here. The one onus is on the franchisor, that the franchisor should do what's best for both parties. You know, if that requires looking for another supplier on the other side of the coast, franchisors should be doing that. In an ideal world, franchisors should be doing that before they sell a franchise halfway across the country. If they don't, and the franchisee mentions that, it is on the onus of the franchisor to figure that out. Like if one person's paying twice the amount for boxes than somebody else simply because there's a logo printed on them or whatever, that doesn't matter. The franchisor needs to solve that. You can't grow if you can't solve the issues that come along with growth. But on the flip side, the franchisee also has to pay the same sort of respect to the franchisor and be like, listen, you've proven this business model. I trust you because we got into this agreement. I'm going to listen to what you say. Once they start veering off and trying to solve the problems for themselves, that's when the more problems start to happen.
Yeah, so you talked about in a perfect world, and that's that it totally in a
Yeah,
perfect
so
world.
in an imperfect world, what happens is the franchisor is so busy with all the other stuff that they have to do that they don't think about the small little different intricacies of maybe having a new box supplier on the other side of the coast. Although I think food companies probably pay special attention to that because some food can go bad during shipping or, whatever. Um,
Unless it's frozen.
yeah, unless it's frozen. So the franchisor usually doesn't pay attention to that because they're busy trying to sell more franchises or trying to get bought by private equity. And the franchisee, on the other hand, also doesn't have the patience or belief in the franchisor's decision-making process, and they just try to go solve things themselves, right? And then they start, well, I did this, well, you did this, well, I did this, well, I did this. So your relationship has to start. Franchisor is in charge. Franchisor knows what he's doing. He's done it for a number of years. He's proven the business model. He or she is open to changes and open to collaboration, but they're in charge. You need to listen to the franchisor. On the flip side, if the franchisor has to commit to the franchisee that they're going to do anything and everything to make their business happy, successful, and profitable. And if they misstep something, they're going to take the input from the franchisee to do so, right? Because ultimately, in a legal document, a franchise document just gives somebody else the license to use the brand and the marks and the processes. There's no requirement for the franchisor to provide any support, to change the economics of the business, to make them more profitable. None of that. The franchisor should be doing that, but there's no legal obligation to do that, right? So if the franchisee starts getting all uppity, the franchisor has every right to sort of step back and say, okay, man, you want to do this your way? Just as long as you don't break the rules, that's how we're going to do it. Or we can work together.
Wow, you really ranted a lot today. I don't know if I really got much. Thank goodness I had a couple minutes at the beginning because I don't really get a word in
My God,
edgewise.
I'm sorry.
This is the Robert rants, not the Ange and Rob rants. All right, well, we better get wrapping it up. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of thoughts on this about like all the things that we got to hear at the roundtables this week. But it sounds like you do too.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up
All
then.
right,
Three,
three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
Go be awesome.